Good evening and welcome to Baturdays in the BatCave. I am OmniDog from OmniDog's Vault, joined as usual with my co-host, the Minister of Comics. Minister, how's it going, buddy?
I'm doing great. And just to be clear to everyone, if this isn't a live show that you missed out on, this is a pre-recorded show because I have some plans tomorrow night. Well, I guess tonight for those of you who are watching this on Saturday. I know we get a lot of viewers who were like, "Oh, I missed the live show." It's like, no, just pre-recorded, so don't worry
Yeah,
about it.
Taylor's the one that's screwing us up, guys. So blame him.
Yeah, but we always want to make sure we have a video for you every other Saturday. So we're gonna do a pre-recorded review. We might as well call this Marvel Days in the Marvel Cave because we're not doing any DC books. We're doing two Marvel books that came out recently that we were both excited to read.
And one, I'm responsible for the oversized hardcover, and that is Invaders, because I got the trades so that the minister could get the very nice hardcover.
Thank you for your service.
That looks really good.
I like the back image of Namor.
That looks awesome.
Yeah, this is a really nice. This is a perfect size for a hardcover. 12 issues, perfect size for a deluxe.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to talk about this first since we have it in our hands?
Sure. Yeah.
You want to show off some art while I read the back to kind of give people a flavor of what the story's about?
Yeah, let me start with the first issue, or I'm sorry, the first trade that I have.
All right, so Namor has made enemies of the Avengers and is once again preparing to unleash his fury on the surface world. As the full scale of his plans is revealed, his oldest friends must become his deadliest foes. Captain America, the original Human Torch, and the Winter Soldier reunite to stand against the Submariner, a king still haunted by the ghosts of the past. As Namor's secret history is revealed, his fellow invaders are each transformed, and the world is forever changed. But when the conflict is over, can he possibly be redeemed? I will say that one thing, just to preface this book, is that it may be helpful for you to read some of Jason Aaron's Avengers run because it does somewhat lead into this series. I don't think you have to, because I don't think Jess did, but I read some of Jason Aaron's run on Hoopla with Avengers, and there is a lot of Namor stuff happening in the early parts of that run. That's one thing I do want to preface before we get started with the actual review.
I do have Avengers coming in.
The hardcover?
The hardcover, yeah. But I didn't. I just do what I always do with X-Men, and I just say that happened. But yeah, there was a lot of reference to other stuff in this book.
Right.
I'm looking forward to Jason Aaron's Avengers.
Yeah, you don't have to read that stuff, but if you're getting the hardcover like Jess is, read that hardcover first, and it'll make more sense in the grand scheme of Marvel. So, Jeff, what did you think overall of the series?
Well, I am old enough that I remember reading the original timely, like, I think that in the 60s, I had access somehow to the Human Torch when he was an android, and Submariner when, as a 6-year-old, I called him the Submariner. And it wasn't until the cartoon came out that I found out he was called the Submariner.
There was a Submariner cartoon?
Back in the 60s, I think there was a Captain America one too. It wasn't really that much of a cartoon. It was like images and their mouths would move. And then it would go to some other scene and then their mouths would move.
Like that old Thor cartoon?
That was, yeah, probably. I don't remember the Thor. Well, I think the Thor one was probably in the same genre. I would say this was probably the mid-60s that these things came out. Captain America had one, and just they would focus in and out on like a comic panel, and then the head would come out and talk. And that's where I still have the theme song in my head from Captain America.
It's even funny to watch the old Spider-Man cartoon to see how much images they reuse over and over and over again. Like him coming at the camera, swinging like this. They use that like 5 times in every episode. Back then, cartoons were cheap, and they made them very cheaply.
Yeah, and I loved them. I remember loving Spider-Man.
Well, that's all you have. That's all you have. So you
That is, yeah.
enjoy it. Kids today are so spoiled, Jess.
Oh my.
Even a million times more than I was in the 90s. We had nothing compared to what they have now.
So I remember all these characters from reprints, cheap reprints maybe that I got at like an 8-year-old. So I remember their adventures, and so I was sort of excited to see that he was bringing them back, and I was really excited to see how Zdarsky wove current times in with World War II to show the friendship that built between Captain America and Namor, especially, because by the time I was in my, I don't know, maybe by the time I was 30, in any given year, Namor was either an enemy or a friend. I think he started out as an enemy, then he became a friend with the Nazis, and I mean, he was either an enemy. I don't. It just depended on the issue or the series whether he was a enemy or a friend. So I liked how it was interwoven to establish the friendship with Captain America and Namor,
and to show why he is so back and forth. They kind of show they give a reason. I don't want to spoil it. They give a reason why Namor is so aggressive, why he's done so many stupid and foolish things, and why he has gone from good to bad so many times, which was really interesting. I wouldn't call it a retcon. It was just an explanation for things that already existed in continuity.
And I thought that was done really well. They never well, let's see. They didn't address the issue specifically with the reason, and I wonder if that could lead to future issues between Namor and the reason he was acting out that way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's hard to talk around this because you don't want to say it because you want to ruin it for people. But I get what you mean.
Yeah, because somebody just said I spoiled a bunch of things on a guide to the Sandman universe, and they weren't the first people to say that I spoiled it. So I'm trying to be more circumspect in talking about books so I don't spoil it for people. But there is an issue I think that could lead to further to maybe not another 12-issue series, but maybe a mini series dealing with how those things happen to Namor that lead to his erratic behavior.
And I would say more than anything else, as you can already tell by how much we've talked about him, this book is it can almost be called Namor. Yeah. It's very much a character study of Namor. Captain America, the Human Torch, and the Winter Soldier are in it, but not a ton, to be honest. I would say Captain America is in it the most, and the other two characters are kind of ancillary characters. But it's very much Namor is front and center, and it's exploration of him and his psyche. So if that's interesting to you, you're really going to like this book. But if you hate Namor, this book might win you over because it explains why he is so douchey. But if you really hate the character, it may not be the book for you.
Well, I don't know. I don't particularly care for Namor, but I loved this book. I thought it was really well done, and Zdarsky, I think to me is right up there with Al Ewing and almost Donny Cates in being one of those writers now who you can always count on. Mm-hmm. I thought that the way he structured everything in the book was really well thought out, and that he had the imagination to, as I said, intermingle, weave the old memories with the new. And I hadn't seen the android Torch since I was a little kid. So I thought he's writing a book about the Invaders, and that's how these things happen. Not these things happen, but he's writing a book about those old Invaders, and that's how he gets involved.
Was the Human Torch and Android in Marvels in that first issue? I can't remember.
I'm sorry?
Remember how the Human Torch appeared in the first issue of Marvels by Kurt Busiek and Alex Ross? Was he an
Yeah,
android in that?
yeah,
Okay. He hasn't really been used very much besides like Marvels, and he was a part of Captain America by Ed Brubaker, that whole run. But he hasn't really been in very much except for these series. So he hasn't been used at all, really. So it was interesting to
yeah,
see him utilized to some degree. Because I didn't know anything about him, really.
yeah. Well, I think the Human Torch from the Fantastic Four supplanted him almost immediately, and they
Yeah.
relegated him to the dustbin of history. But he's a he. He was an interesting character in this, as much as we got to see of him. But you're right. This is really more of a Namor book. But I, I think they showed Namor to be not human, but much less, much less bluster and more, um, much more susceptible to emotions than we had previously seen.
Right. His human side comes out a lot in this.
Right. And what is he? Is he like Aquaman? He's half human, half Atlantean.
Him and Aquaman are like the same exact character in terms of like their backstory, but they're different in their demeanor and their characterization. Like
Right.
Aquaman's a little bit more benevolent, he's more kind, whereas Namor's an overall jerk.
Yeah.
So I
Super.
think, but Namor came first in historically, right?
I think so. Yeah.
So, but Aquaman's the one who's more well known overall.
Yeah. And I remember reading John Burns' Namor. I feel like it was in the 90s, the early 90s, maybe. I don't remember when. And he was an executive in that, and he still had the little wings on his feet. It
Yeah.
was funny to see him in a business suit with the wings on his feet.
Why do you even have the wings on his feet? What they have to do with anything?
That helps him fly.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, why does he have wings on his feet? Okay,
Yeah,
that makes
that
more
helps
sense.
him fly.
So you're more of an Aquaman fan than a Namor fan. If you had to pick one or the other.
uh, um, I guess so. I've probably read about as much about each. I guess I've read more Aquaman than Namor. Um, yeah, I've read more Aquaman.
I do like Jonathan Hickman's Namor. I thought he was really interesting in the Fantastic Four run that he did.
Yeah. Well,
I
I
think
like
he writes them very well.
anything.
That's also true.
Yeah.
I will say the one thing I feel like this book wasn't what I expected it to be, which is great in a lot of different ways. I went into this expecting more World War II stuff, which I was really excited about, and that's probably 20 pages of the whole series, maybe like 50 pages. So I was wanting that, and I didn't really get it, so I was somewhat disappointed. But again, that's my own expectation that wasn't met. And
Oh, I
so
didn't expect any, so I
I
was surprised.
I thought it was going to be like kind of like one issue back and forth type of thing, or like it would be like really invest in the 40s, and I was really excited about that. Like even with the cover too, you kind of think, oh, cool, this is going to be like a World War II story, and I was like, oh, well, this is still good. It just wasn't what I expected.
I can
So
see how that cover made you feel that way because I got this cover and I didn't think
yeah,
there was going to be any World War II in it.
right.
So, but I can see how that cover led you to think that.
Yeah, sometimes your expectations, even though they're not the best expectations, kind of color how you read a book.
Yeah.
So, but I think it was really well done. I think it wrapped up rather abruptly at the end. I was like, oh, that was quick. And then I think it could have had another issue maybe to kind of wrap things up a little bit neater. But that was my major critique. And
Oh,
the other critique about my expectations isn't really a comment on Zdarsky because he can't manage my expectations. That was just what I was hoping for.
yeah.
So I think it's best to go into this book not knowing much about it because it really surprised me.
Yeah, it was a complete surprise to me. So I really enjoyed it. I haven't rated it yet, but it's going to get at least 4 stars from me on Goodreads because I was always interested in it, and I I found it compelling. I thought the art was really good, and I I really enjoyed it a lot.
I'm really glad I don't live in the Marvel universe. That's what I learned from this book. What happens to some of the regular common citizens is not very fun. Part of
Oh
Namor's plan. It's just, man, living in the DC or Marvel universe, that'd be terrible. Like, you know,
yeah,
when people are like, what comic universe do you want to live in? None of them, because there's always planetary invasions. There's always, you're being transformed into something. You're being beamed up somewhere. I'll
yeah.
take the real world any day.
It, even in Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, there's still buildings being bashed in and everything in this neighborhood.
Right.
It's not even safe to be on his block. So yeah, especially New York City. New York City has been beaten down and exploded 1,000 times. I don't know how it keeps rebuilding, but it seems to be the center. Not in this book, but it seems to be the center of destruction all the time.
The same with Gotham City. It's like, why haven't you moved away by now? It's like,
Yeah,
wouldn't you have left after the second Joker toxin being released into the
yeah.
water? But anyway, that'd be an interesting story to explore a little bit more. I feel like no one's really explored that concept very well in comic books. Like, why are people staying in these places?
I guess because they can't afford to leave, except that there's rich citizens that live in Gotham. So
There is one story I can think of. Remember the one issue in the Green Lantern run by Jeff Johns where everybody puts a green light in their window to show Hal Jordan that they're not leaving and they trust that he will defend their city?
that's right.
That's like the one story I can think of. Like, okay, it's a city standing behind the hero and giving him the motivation to save the day.
That was a
So
cool moment. Yeah,
that was a great. That was probably my favorite moment of the entire run.
yeah.
That was a really cool moment. So that's like the one time I've
Great.
really seen that addressed. I want to know, why do you still live in Gotham? It makes sense if you're poor and you can't move. But for some
Yeah,
of those rich socialites, like, go to somewhere else. Why move to Pittsburgh? Up here, there's no supervillains in comics, so that'd be great. Or even in even down where you live, Jess.
yeah. But there is a lot of snow to shovel in Pittsburgh from this past winter.
That's better than an invasion.
Well, that's true.
It's better than a building falling on you because you're walking your dog down the street.
Yeah, which happens every issue of every.
Yeah, so it sounds like we both really enjoyed this series and recommend it to everyone.
Agree, 100%.
You want to move on to the next one?
Old Man Hawkeye.
I'll never live that down.
Old Man Hawkeye I have in the trades, and I can't believe Old Man Logan and hasn't got an omnibus yet, or two omnis, because not only is it good, but I own it all in trade. So that's usually the signal for Marvel to put it out in an omni.
The Old Man Hawkeye got a complete collection. It didn't get a hardcover, but it got a thick complete collection.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is a return to the wastelands of Old Man Logan that Old Man Hawkeye was in originally in the Miller run.
And it's set 5 years before that, right? It was several years before Old Man Logan.
He gets dropped off. Well, I don't. Yeah, because I think at the end he gets dropped off at Logan's house.
Because in Old Man Logan, he's blind. And in this series, you see him coming to grips with his incoming blindness and slowly losing his sight, which is a really big deal. One, for a superhero, and second, for one who depends on his eyesight for archery. So it's a big deal for him to lose his vision.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because there's like an interstitial thing where for 1 year later he gets. Oh no! At the end of the series, he gets dropped off in front of Logan's, which isn't spoiling it because I'm not telling you anything that happens in the book. But then I assume that that's when Old Man Logan starts, and then I loved the last page, and I felt like you probably did too.
Yeah, that was a really cool final reveal that I really loved because you didn't really know where a certain character ended up in Old Man Logan, and you never really heard much about him. But yeah, it's not much of a spoiler. This is a prequel, so there's not really much to spoil. You kind of know he survives because he's in Old Man Logan.
Right.
So, but there are some things that are really interesting, and some of the other extra characters I don't want to ruin things about.
Yeah. So I'm not that familiar with Ethan Sachs. I am familiar with Cicchetto's artwork, which is great throughout all this.
It was fantastic. I
Yeah,
love his Jess. I can't wait for you to read Daredevil by Zdarsky because Marco Cicchetto is the main artist, and that's the work of his career in my opinion.
really.
But he does fantastic work in this as well. He's always great. His work
Yeah,
with Greg Rucka on The Punisher is also phenomenal.
I still need to read that.
You never read that?
I haven't. I haven't, and I
Ah,
haven't.
that should be a part of your list for this year of books you need to read. Part of your goals.
Okay, I'll put that on it.
You're gonna love it. I mean, it's Greg Rucka, so you kind of already know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd never heard of Ethan Sachs at all before this book.
And I thought this was really well written, and it takes the wastelands and expands on it for Old Man Hawkeye's story, and it sort of fleshes out more of the wastelands than what we saw in Old Man Logan. And I know there's a couple other books that I have written down about the wastelands. One with the Avengers, and paper's not right in front of me, but there are two other stories that we can read that are about the wastelands that are supposed to be really good.
I keep waiting for hardcovers or omnis to be announced for Old Man Logan by Lemire because I really want to read more about that character. Even though I know it's not set in the Wastelands, it's set in the 616. But I keep waiting. It has to happen. Omar, if you're watching this, make it happen. Happy birthday. Tell David we want an Old Man Logan by Lemire omnibus.
Well, yeah, I mean, I already own them, so I don't know how it hasn't happened. But he has this the same sort of not good relationship with his ex-wife and his daughter, and he's Hawkeye is apparently not a good guy ever. Starting with, I guess, Fraction's run, he's a bit of a scoundrel, and then it just gets worse to the point where nobody likes Hot Guy in the future at all. But there's a really cool twist in this book about the people that are after him. He's got a goal that he needs some partners, but there are a couple people after him, and there's the one person that's after him makes sense. The other group that's after him is a great invention, I think.
It's a one X-Man character that meets a Spider-Man character, and chaos ensues. And I won't say anything else.
It's really handled well.
And again, Cicchetto's drawing of that is phenomenal. Just the way I love all the different. I love how this kind of brings in the entire Marvel universe to bear, and it's all about Hawkeye's like, okay, I'm losing my vision. I'm gonna go on one last revenge trip. I'm gonna get the people who betrayed me and my friends. It's like basically a Western. Like Old Man Logan was a Western. This is also a Western. It's a very simple story, but it's so cool kind of seeing him check these people off his list. And who they become is really interesting.
Right, and it gives us more history of the downfall of the heroes. Gives us a lot more history of the downfall of the heroes that happens that leads to the creation of the Wastelands, which I thought was really well done. How what happened to Hawkeye and the other heroes is extremely well done, and it gives you more information as to how everything happened that leads to the condition of Earth, or the United States anyway, in Old Man Logan, which I thought was there was a crying need for it, and this fills it out really well.
Yeah, the action scenes are amazingly choreographed too. It's brutal. It's definitely if you're someone who doesn't like violence or gore, this isn't the book for you. He's shooting people through the eye sockets. There's people are getting their limbs ripped off, so it's a pretty violent world as seen in Old Man Logan.
Yeah, very violent.
I read this 12 issue run over the course of a few hours. It's a really quick read. You can bang it out in like probably an hour or two. It's really, really quick. I think my only critique of it was Chichetto's art is so good. It was disappointing that the last 2 issues were drawn by somebody else.
Yeah, I picked up on that.
And it wasn't that the artist was bad. It's just when you have a artist of Chichetto's caliber, they can't live up to that. I feel very similar in this book as I do in Under the Red Hood, Batman Under the Red Hood, where the whole series is drawn by Doug Mahnke, and you know how fantastic he is.
Yeah.
And the last issue with the most important confrontation between Red Hood, the Joker, and Bruce Wayne is drawn by a fill-in artist. Don't have the final issue drawn by a fill-in artist. That's the most important issue. And that needs to be drawn by the main artist. I understand everyone has deadlines, everyone has schedules, but I'd rather wait than have a fill-in artist jump in. I want to have like a complete run in my hands if possible. So that was kind of, again, it wasn't nothing to do with the story. It was still a well-drawn issues. I just wished Chichetto had drawn them.
Yeah, I don't think it bothered me as much as it bothered you, but I understand totally exactly what you're saying. And I thought that those the last few issues were the most exciting of the whole series is super exciting because it's so action packed and so violent. And then the last half of the second book is really exciting and action packed and just crazy, but in a good way. You need to know what you're getting into. That this is just like Taylor said, it's a Western. It's a violent Western. It goes to different locales other than the wastelands because of who he wants revenge against. But it is packed. It's an action book. It's a superhero action adventure book that is top notch. To me, this gets 5 stars for me. I loved all of it. I am happy to learn more about the wastelands, and I'd like to learn even more about how everything happened. We do see some of the power brokers. We don't see some of the power brokers, but we do see a few of them that have carved up the U.S. And I'd like to see more of that. This series makes me want to see even more Wastelands material.
Yeah, I need to read Old Man Star-Lord. I think that's a series that also came out in that Wasteland universe.
Oh, yeah, and that one, and then and then there's like an Avengers Wasteland one. I think those are the 2 that I still need to get.
And again, I don't want to reveal the ending and how a certain character kind of plays out. I would love to see a book centered around that character in the Wasteland. Yeah. I mean, I wonder if that's why they did that, to kind of set it up for the future. That would be awesome. That's a book I would definitely buy day one.
I agree. Yeah, and maybe you're right. Maybe that's why they left it like that, because that would make a really great book.
That would be amazing. So I really enjoyed both of these books. I think I enjoyed Old Man Hawkeye more
than Invaders.
I think if I had to pick my favorite, it'd be that one.
I think so too.
They're close though. I just think Old Man Hawkeye was. I keep saying Hot Guy now because you messed me up. You keep saying it. Old Man Hawkeye. It was just so propulsive. It was so action packed. I never wanted to stop.
Right.
I could put down Always an Invader. I couldn't put down Old Man Hawkeye. That's a better way to put it.
I agree with that 100%. Yeah.
But I think they're both top-notch books that everyone should check out.
Right. I agree with that too. And so I've read Old Man Hawkeye and the first 5 issues of Old Man Logan. So I need to read the rest of Old Man but Old Man Logan's here now. So I need to read Old Man Quill or Old Man Star-Lord. And
I think you're right. I think it's Old Man Quill.
Old Man Quill.
I'm pretty sure you're right.
I've got it. I think I may have it. I'm not. Let's see.
I'll just see if it's on Hoopla. See if I can check it out tonight.
There's also Dead Man Logan and Deadpool versus Old Man Logan. And okay, I do not have Old Man Quill or Star-Lord, whichever one it is.
And then Old Man Logan's in the 616 with the X-Men for a while, too. I think he pops up in some of those team books that you probably have. Either like either it's like X-Men Blue, Yellow, whatever it was, X-Men Red. I think he's in some of I think he's in some of those books as well. But you're the one who has those, and I don't have them, so I can't speak to which one he's on. You have them, but you probably haven't read them yet, so maybe you don't know.
I haven't read X-Men Gold. I read X-Men Blue, and then I read a bunch of other X-Men's. But that was like 3 years ago. So,
but there's definitely.
I didn't have a really good grasp on. I had forgotten how Old Man Logan came to Earth 616. So, I should go back and reread those issues now because then it'll make more sense to me.
But I'm definitely all in on this universe, and I want to read more of it. So I'm really hoping they keep putting out more because I'll read them.
Of the Wasteland?
Yeah, of the Wasteland, yeah.
I agree 100%. So we agree. We think I'm giving Old Man Hawkeye 5 stars, and I'm giving Invaders 4 stars. Both of them are definitely worth your time. They're both well written, well drawn, well thought out, very, very good books that you should not only definitely think about picking, you should just definitely get them and enjoy them.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I'm telling you, you will. You will enjoy them.
And if you don't, you just don't like fun.
Yeah, or comics.
You'll get a mean comment about that in the comments later.
Nah, you know I'm kidding. So where can they find you on social media, Minister?
Well, I have it right here at Minister of Comics on Instagram. I actually did post my reviews of Always an Invader and Old Man Hawkeye several weeks ago when I read them. So I do reviews. I do top fives. I'm starting to do toy photography thanks to T-Bone, Tyler Blunt. I've done a couple toy photography pictures that I've been pretty happy with. So check out my page there, and I would love to see you interact and leave a comment. I try to end a lot of my posts with a question so I can interact with people on my page. So I'd love to hear from you. Not just get your like, but get your comments as well.
Oh, good strategy. And you can find me on this channel, OmniDogs Vault, on YouTube, and on Instagram, OmniDogs_Vault, where I don't interact hardly at all with people. So maybe that's by design. I don't know. So thank you for tuning in. Please leave a like. Please subscribe, leave a comment, and we'll be back live in 2 weeks where we will be reading something to be determined and probably sidetracked by the chat anyway. So thank you for tuning in. Peace and love. Peace and love.